This is Rhino, what I'm showing over here. I'm just really quickly going to go over a way to make a video out of Rhino besides the videos that Beina sent out. I'm counting on everyone having followed those videos that were added as links for resources to create frames in Photoshop, as well as assembling those frames into compositions or videos for After Effects. All right, so with that, right here in Rhino, I have a very simple model with a clipping plane to trace a section. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to export a quick little clip by using the render tools. So I'm working here with Rhino 6. If you have a Rhino 6 model open, you can go ahead and follow along, and I'll check up on you guys. If you don't have a Rhino model open and you have your frames and clips already, then just take notes on what commands I'm using. So here for render tools, right? If we go here on our main toolbar, under render tools, we have our animation tools over here for preview animation, various previous frame, next frame, you can control frame by frame. But mainly we want to go over here where the clip is, and we have different ways of setting up movements through the model. So we have a fly through animation, a path animation, and a turntable animation. So I'm going to do a path animation. And just to check up on the command line up here, it says select a camera path, curve, or point, right? So it's going to ask for a camera path and then a target path. So since I just want to pan through the project over here, I'm going to go into a top view and simply draw two lines for where I want the camera to go through. I'm just going to copy the same line over. So this right here is where I had my camera set up earlier for the clipping plane. So this will be where the camera is located. The camera will move from one side of the line to the next, and it'll start wherever you start drawing the line. So if I start drawing the line over here on the left side, and I drag over to the right, that's the movement path for the camera. So I want the target path to be just the same, but I'll simply copy this line and I'll place it behind the building. So the camera will be positioned in this first line down here, and it will be looking at this top line. Well, not top line, but behind the project. Next, in 3D, I'm going to, I lost my line. I'm going to go back to top view to select that line. And in 3D, I'm going to use the gumball tool to drag those lines up and bring them up to the height where I want them to be located. To look forward, you can, I'm just going to eyeball it, but you can always, make it between 5 or 6 feet if you want it to be a human level or human eye level. And that looks all right there. I'm going to my shaded view to make sure. And my line is right here, so I want to make sure I back it up. Why is it disappearing? Oh, it's behind my clipping plane. So if you have a clipping plane and you're not able to see your camera path, like it's happening with me, I'm just going to type in the command disable clipping plane. And then I'll have to select the clipping plane. And I can see mine is right here, but if you don't happen to see yours, you can select an area where that clipping plane might be, and you'll only see it highlights right there. And so I'll disable that clipping plane, and now I can see my camera path is located over here. And to preview that now, I can go to my render tools. Well, sorry, not to preview, to set it up. But before I set it up, can I get an okay from people in the chat that are either taking notes or setting up these lines for their model? Okay. Could I ask, there's someone around that's not muted? I'm just hearing some background noise. Cool, thank you. All right, so the command we want to do here now is going to be set up path animation. And so select camera path. That's the one up here. And select target path now. I didn't even have to hit enter. I just selected the line and it automatically took it. And once I select the target path, I get this little window that's going to ask for a number of frames, a file type to export as, what capture method, right? So whatever preview mode you have, in this case, there's a wireframe. There's the default rendered or full render preview. And then there's my custom ones that I have as well that I could use. But I'll go ahead and just put the render preview so that it renders fairly quickly. I'll do PNG and from the perspective view. So animation name, animation, that's just for when it exports the files. However, there is a little trick besides exporting frames that I'll show you if your monitor is high enough quality or if your graphics card can run, where you can record the animation straight out of Rhino as a video. But for now, once we set up that animation with that window, over here with the green symbol under render tools, this playhead here, preview animation. And so we see there how it goes through. So it's pretty fast, right? And the way to slow that down would be to either increase the amount of frames, but of course it's going to increase the file size that you're going to end up with later. But it's fine, 100 frames for just that pan where you want to use 2 or 3 seconds. If you export those frames, you can then just slow down or time stretch later. So don't be too worried about the speed here. So you could hit record animation if you're happy with what you're getting. Once I hit the record animation button right here, or you type in the command record animation, it'll say press enter to start recording, but between parentheses, you get a target folder. So that's where all your frames are going to export to. And you want to make sure that you have your project folders organized and that you have a folder for each animation that's going to be composed of frames, or every video that's going to be composed of frames. Any questions so far? I know I'm kind of maybe going a little fast. If I am, and you'd like for me to slow down, let me know. I just want to get this so we can get into After Effects and start putting these things together.
Nope.
All good? All right. No, we'll be moving on to After Effects now. Okay, so I'm getting questions here. I'm going to show you how to set up the path animation again. So when I set up the path animation, and the command starts up, as I select camera path. So I'm going to select that first curve over here. That's going to be my camera path. And then after I set up my target path, that's when the animation box pops up. It doesn't need to be a straight line. It could be a curved line. So if my target line over here, I'm going to bring it out over here just to edit it. If you're not familiar with this command, you can do insert not. And what that allows you to do is add a control point to a curve. So this line only has 2 control points at the ends, but the insert not command will allow me to place a point along this curve. That'll allow me to control that curve. So then I can select that point, and if I move that point out, I can create an arc. So my camera path could still be a straight line, and simply because I'm doing that section, and I want to keep that a straight line, but I can curve my target path, as you see there.
Julian, there are a couple of questions on the chat, but
Yeah.
they can't ask you because they're on mute. So I don't know if you can, or maybe you can answer them at the end before we move to After Effects.
I've tried to answer some of the questions. How to slow it down, I'm about to get to. How to get the box where the frames are, I answered. The line doesn't need to be a straight line, as I'm showing you now how it can be an arc target. Is there something else I missed?
No, that's all. Sorry. Thank you.
No, it's all good. Thank you. Okay. I see that we just got like 60 more participants in the last couple of minutes. So for all the people that just joined in, I'm simply going over another way to set up an animation through Rhino. And in just a couple of minutes, after I get this little clip out, we're going to move into After Effects. But I'm counting on everyone having the resources from the YouTube tutorials that were sent out, either frames or clips. This is being recorded, so if you're not able to follow along, make sure you take notes, but you'll be able to revisit this on your own time. Okay. I'll go ahead and set this path animation once again to recap those questions, as well as set up a new animation where we now have, well, it's not an arc because it was a line, but I'm fine with this. It's a 2-segment polyline. So how to slow it down? I have 100 frames. So you also want to think how you're formatting this. And at this point, I'll start to address a concern of Neil Leach. So sorry I didn't answer through email, but I was looking into this issue where there is some latency through Zoom, but looking through the Zoom support pages, they optimize videos when they're played in full screen. So you want to play your videos, if you're the presenter, you want to play them in full screen to make sure you get the smoothest frame rate possible. But then you also want to be familiar with frame rates. So movies that you typically see in the theater or on TV, they go at 24 frames per second. If you're familiar with the style of animated series like anime, they go at 14 to 8 frames per second. And 30 frames is smooth. The human eye sees at 60 frames per second, more or less. So keep that in mind for how many frames, how many seconds your animation is going to go for. So if I want this to play through for maybe 5 seconds, and I want to do 30 frames per second, right, to make it pretty smooth. Whoops, I missed out on my 5 seconds, 30 frames, 150 frames. So 150 frames, PNG, render preview, perspective animation, hit OK. I can play through the animation now, and it's a little bit slower just by adding 50 frames. If you want to go ahead and if you're fine with like taking up more resources, you can add more frames. But what you can also do, that was being previewed in wireframe mode. So you want to make sure that if you're doing your preview, you want to see it in rendered view. You have to go a little fast, but this is a little trick. Instead of exporting those frames as you would by recording the animation, what I do, you can use a video capturing software to capture the recording on the screen. So in this case, I'm hoping this doesn't interfere with my Zoom recording. But you can hit Windows key on a Windows. You can hit Windows key G on any software, and you can start recording that software that you're using. On a Mac, you can get, I'm not sure if there's a native way to record, but you could also download a software to record. So once I'm recording my screen right now, if I play the animation or I preview the animation, and I'm going to extend my line a little bit past where I would want the animation to start. I would only recommend this if you're maybe like running out of disk space to be able to export more frames to slow down the animation. Or again, if your rendered view is good enough on your computer, like it might be with mine, when you play the animation, it's going to start playing in wireframe. But if you quickly click on the drop-down menu here for preview modes, I can switch to rendered view. And so now the animation will continue to play in rendered view. And so right now I'm recording what I'm seeing here. Can I get an okay from people in the chat that there's no interference with me recording this clip on Rhino and the setting up right now? Okay, cool. All right. If you're using V-Ray, will it record with the same material? Yes, you would have to set up your animation, sorry, your renderer for your animation, you would have to set it to be V-Ray. And so then V-Ray will render every frame that you export. That's a lot though. So for like a 5 to 10 second animation at high quality, it might take all night.
If you like this video, please leave a comment below. Let me know what you think and consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks. See you next time.